The janitor saw me setting up my fortune-telling stall by the roadside, and assuming I was utterly destitute and unable to afford a meal, he took the last few coins he had on him and insisted I take them. To repay his kindness, I offered to read his fortune, but I never expected to calculate that his son was no longer among the living, and furthermore, that he had been cruelly murdered and buried deep beneath the earth. Thus I spoke to him. Brother, please contain your grief. Your son departed this world 3 years ago. But before my words had even faded, the man flew into a rage. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? My son is alive and well. How could he possibly be gone? You are nothing but a common swindler. You are so young, yet you curse others with such ill omens. I sighed helplessly and replied with a calm demeanor. Accompany me on a journey, and you shall know the truth at once. Your son's remains are still buried beneath the school grounds. If I am mistaken, you are free to call the police and have me arrested. Upon hearing this, Lin Daishan was struck dumb, frozen in place. He stared at me with an expression of sheer disbelief. You say my son is buried in the schoolyard? I nodded, adding that he had been harmed by a villain and hidden away. Contact the police first. I shall accompany you to recover the boy's remains. Hearing this, Lin Daishan fell into a state of panic. After summoning the authorities, a procession of people marched toward the school, circling the grounds. Then, I pointed toward the patch of grass beneath our feet. The child is right here beneath this spot. Lin Daishan's legs turned to jelly, and he nearly collapsed to the ground. Choking back tears, he pleaded with the officers. Officers, I beg you, please dig and see for yourselves. If nothing is found, I am willing to bear full responsibility. As for me, I stood casually to the side, watching them in silence. Once they had dug to a depth of 1 meter, the decomposed remains of a body began to emerge. Witnessing this scene, the complexion of Officer Chen Fei changed instantly. He rushed forward to conduct an inspection. Very quickly, the poor remains were unearthed and carefully placed into a bag. The nosy onlookers who had gathered to watch the commotion erupted into a state of chaos. My, oh my, this young man is truly remarkable. He is indeed a grandmaster. Immediately after, Chen Fei cast a glance at me and spoke in a deep, gravelly voice. If you too would be so kind, follow me to the station to provide a statement. Especially you, Grandmaster. Upon arriving at the police station, Chen Fei stared at me intently, his gaze sharp and piercing. You are a first-year student at Tsinghua University majoring in finance, not the mystical arts. So tell me, how could you possibly know there were human remains buried beneath the school grounds? I offered a carefree, radiant smile. The original owner of this body was indeed a finance major. His goal was to earn money for the orphanage, to help the children there afford their medical treatments. But I, however, am not him. Officer, 3 years ago, I had not even set foot in the capital. How could I possibly be involved in this case? If you do not believe me, I can divine 2 more fortunes for you. If I am correct, you shall pay me. But if I am wrong, you may lock me away indefinitely. A faint, relieved smile flickered across Chen Fei's face. You have quite the nerve. You are already inside a police station, and yet you still dare to solicit fortune-telling? The officer standing nearby could not help but chuckle aloud. An officer wearing glasses joked, well, look at that. A finance student dabbling in the spiritual arts. How truly intriguing. However, just as they were whispering among themselves, a tall figure stood up, approached me, and handed me a series of numbers. Calculate this for me. When will my son find a suitable bone marrow donor? I studied the features of Cao Tongming. He possessed large earlobes. Yes, his forehead was full and broad, a clear sign of a man blessed by fortune. But his children's palace was deeply sunken. It was evident he had no blood ties to any children. I pinched my fingers to perform the calculations and spoke calmly. Within the next 3 days, your son will find a suitable donor. Cao Tongming was overcome with immense joy upon hearing this. Is that truly the case? My son can finally be saved. But as I approached the next revelation, I hesitated slightly. However, the child is not your biological son. He is the child of your younger brother. Your wife pleaded with your brother, and that is why he agreed to donate the marrow. If you do not believe me, you may go and conduct a paternity test. Upon hearing this, Cao Tongming's eyes widened in sheer disbelief. Impossible! You fraudulent fortune-teller, you are lying. You are surely trying to deceive me. I immediately countered. Disturbances occurred during your sister's wedding night, did they not? Your younger brother drank to excess that night, and your wife was merely a victim of the circumstances. Return to your hometown at once to save her. She is already on her way there. If you are too late, she will be subjected to further humiliation. Hearing this, Cao Tongming immediately panicked, frantically pulling out his phone to make several urgent calls, but there was no answer on the other end of the line. With no further thought, he hurriedly requested leave and dashed out of the building. The entire police station fell into a deathly silence. Every pair of eyes turned toward me. Officer Li Hao then pulled out a file, casting a side glance at Chen Fei. Seeing his superior did not object, he wrote down the birth date and time of a deceased individual. Can you calculate how this person met their end? I gave a slight nod, thinking to myself that, if my cultivation from my past life still remained, I would have seen through the truth with a single glance. However, my cultivation is now far too shallow, and I must calculate every detail with utmost caution. The atmosphere in the station grew heavy with silence, broken only by the scratching of the pen against paper. A moment later, I put down the pen and furrowed my brows. I have calculated it, but the result is chilling. Are you certain you wish to hear it? Hearing my question, every officer sat bolt upright. Li Hao urged impatiently, "Speak plainly. Knowing the cause of the victim's death will be instrumental in helping us apprehend the culprit." I clenched my fists and replied in a somber tone. This young woman was 23 years old and had only recently begun her internship. To save money, she rented a room in the suburbs. She vanished a month later, leaving behind only scattered remains of bone. Am I correct? Those bones were discovered in a lot frequented by stray dogs, were they not? They appeared to have been gnawed to pieces. Yet strangely enough, there was no trace of the victim's DNA found within the stomachs of those stray dogs. The trail ends there, so it is only natural that you have been unable to find any leads. I let out a heavy sigh. The culprit is none other than her landlord. He dismembered the victim and served her remains to the other tenants. The stray dogs never touched the remains, which is exactly why, as these words left my lips, a collective intake of cold air filled the room. The file in Li Hao's hand trembled violently, his eyes brimming with sheer terror. You have surely investigated the landlord by now, haven't you? However, since he did not consume his own masterpiece, it is only natural that you found no clues at his residence. Furthermore, the scene of the crime was not located at his home. Go to the abandoned chemical plant and drain the water from the storage tank there. Within it, you will find the murder weapon you seek, and I advise you to apprehend that landlord as quickly as possible. His hands are stained with more than a few lives. He is a deranged psychopath with a formidable ability to evade investigation. I observed their stunned expressions as I finished speaking, yet they regained their senses almost immediately. Chen Fei promptly split the force into two teams. One, to head to the abandoned chemical plant to drain the tank. The other team was tasked with apprehending the landlord. As the water level in the tank gradually receded, several tattered sacks were revealed at the bottom. The moment they were opened, a revolting stench assaulted our nostrils. The odor was so thick, it induced nausea in everyone present. Only rotting human remains could emit such a putrid, sickening scent. One officer could not refrain from cursing under his breath, shielding his nose tightly before continuing to search through the sacks. But at the very moment the final bag was torn open, several mangled human heads rolled out onto the floor. The eyes had been gouged out, leaving behind only deep, hollow, pitch-black sockets. It was a scene of unparalleled, soul-chilling horror. As Li Hao recalled the gruesome tragedy, he could no longer suppress his reaction and began vomiting violently, his face deathly pale. He asked in a weak, trembling voice if the eyes had also been consumed by the perpetrator. Everyone nodded in grim silence. No one wished to continue this macabre discussion. Chen Fei gathered the remains and the murder weapon to transport them to the police station. After processing the scene, he approached me with a heavy expression. Your divination was remarkably accurate. I have already transferred the 2,000 yuan for the reading. Let us exchange WeChat contacts. I am certain I will need your assistance again in the future. I shook my head, responding with a tone that was half jest and half earnest. Could we please avoid meeting again? To be frank, I only perform these readings to earn enough to pay my tuition fees. Chen Fei did not press the matter further. After confirming the transfer, he told me I was free to go. Thank you for your cooperation today. It was nothing. I received the payment, and the reading was provided. It is only the natural order of things. Returning to my room, I immediately set to work crafting several talismans. Upon finishing, a splitting headache surged through my mind as if struck by a hammer. Exhausted, I collapsed onto the bed and fell into a deep slumber. Once I regained my clarity, I returned to my work with renewed focus. Suddenly, a faint streak of golden light, as thin as a strand of hair, drifted toward me. My eyes lit up with anticipation. I immediately drew that strand of light into my body, sensing my cultivation base increase by a slight margin. A smile played across my lips. It seems this body is not as mediocre as I first thought. Truly, it is a promising vessel for the path of cultivation. Shortly after, I pulled out my phone to scroll through the trending news. Several striking headlines on the search rankings caught my attention. Cannibal apprehended at the chemical plant. Human remains discovered beneath the sports field. At that moment, my roommate Wang Hao stumbled inside, looking utterly dejected. He slumped onto the floor, his entire demeanor as limp as a deflated balloon. Seeing me, he asked listlessly, "You returned early? Did the fortune-telling go smoothly?" "It went quite well. I earned 3,000 yuan, I replied calmly. "What did you say?" Wang Hao's eyes widened with intense shock upon hearing that. "Brother, if you are this capable, why on earth do you need to sell yourself to save others?" I sighed and replied, "I didn't sell myself. It is merely a 3-year marriage contract in exchange for a 5 million yuan settlement. I have not touched her in the slightest." Hearing this, Wang Hao gave a perfunctory nod. Right, but after 3 years, when you divorce, you will have been married once already. How will you explain that? I shrugged, and responded indifferently. What does reputation even matter? The children at the orphanage cannot afford to wait any longer. If selling my freedom for 3 years can save them, then it is well worth the price. The following morning, I brought my tools to Swan Lake once again. Just as my daughter finished setting up the stall, a middle-aged woman approached me, hesitating. Master, I wish to know where my daughter has gone. Her face was etched with clear signs of exhaustion and longing. I nodded and spoke in a calm tone. Madam, please write down your daughter's date and time of birth first. After she finished writing, her eyes were filled with profound unease. Master, my daughter has been missing for a year now. I will not hide it from you, master. My son-in-law claims she was promiscuous and ran off with another man, but I do not believe it. I know my daughter better than anyone. There is surely a hidden truth behind this matter. Yet, even after reporting it to the police, they could uncover nothing. I glanced at the birth characters and sighed softly. Madam, restrain your grief. Your daughter is no longer of this world. Hearing this, Liu Qilan's entire body went limp. She covered her face and sobbed. I knew it. My Yor must have. I still clung to hope. Yet in my heart, I had long felt this premonition. The sound of her weeping caused even those around us to feel a deep sense of sorrow. A child raised with one's own hands, lost in an instant. Who could bear such agony? At this moment, Mr. Wang, who was standing nearby, spoke up. Master, the girl Yor has always been obedient. So how did she truly meet her end? Is it true that she did not run away with someone else? The talk of promiscuity and infidelity is nothing more than a fabrication by your son-in-law to conceal the truth of his murderous act. Furthermore, he intends to swallow the family assets whole and seize the dowry house you provided for your daughter. You have only a single daughter, and since your husband passed early, the two of you have relied solely on each other. Fortunately, during the recent redevelopment compensation, you were granted several properties. One was given to your daughter as a dowry, one for you to reside in, and one for rental income. Liu Qilan was stunned upon hearing this, her eyes brimming with shock. Master, what did you say? He actually murdered my daughter? I nodded and continued my explanation. It is quite simple. His secret was exposed, and fearing that your daughter would demand a divorce and threaten his schemes, he struck first. He silenced her, and then cast all the filth of his actions upon your daughter's reputation. By doing so, he naturally and legally inherited that dowry property. You have gone there to make a scene before, have you not? And you were met with his, thief, calling out to catch the thief? Act? Were you? With the body still concealed within the house, Liu Qilan clenched her fists, the fury etched upon her face no longer possible to hide. That wretched scoundrel. How could he have the heart to murder my daughter? I continued my explanation. He had taken a mistress, and even fathered an illegitimate son, fearing my daughter would demand a divorce and jeopardize his plans to seize the property. He gave rise to the intent to kill. Upon hearing this, everyone drew a sharp breath, and a wave of murmurs erupted through the crowd. How could such a venomous creature exist in this world? Liu Qilan gritted her teeth, her gaze burning with steely resolve. A life must be paid for with a life. I will make him pay with his life for my daughter's. Call the police. Let us go. Let us go to my daughter's home. Having spoken, she lunged toward the exit. Old man Wang hurriedly pulled her back. Do not act rashly. Qilan, ask the master first to confirm exactly where your daughter's remains are hidden. Master, you claim Zhao Yu's body is in the house, but the police searched it last year and found nothing amiss. If the body were decomposing, how could there be no scent? That is true. Therefore, your son-in-law sealed the remains in a body bag, vacuum-packed them, and then walled them up within the concrete, naturally ensuring that no one would discover them. Break down the bedroom wall, and you shall find her. As soon as Liu Qilan heard this, her tears flowed uncontrollably, and with trembling hands, she immediately dialed the police. Shortly after, the group of elders, fueled by a blazing rage, marched aggressively toward the apartment complex. Arriving before the unit, Liu Qilan pounded heavily against the door. Meng Hao opened the door, and as it swung ajar, a woman with a sharp, malevolent expression stood in the threshold. It was Xiao Yu's mother-in-law, Zhang Ju, who let out a shrill, mocking shriek. Oh, look who has arrived, the in-law herself. Your daughter was a loose woman, dallying with other men and driving my son to madness. And yet you still have the audacity to show your face here? Get out of my sight at once. That insolent attitude sent Liu Qilan into a fury. The two women lunged at each other, grabbing hair and trading blows. The neighbors gathered around could no longer stomach the sight, and one by one, they joined the fray to lend a hand. At that very moment, a young girl peeked her head out from inside the house, timidly calling out for her grandmother. The young girl's face was wet with tears of sorrow, yet her wide, round eyes were filled with absolute terror. Zhang Ju spun around, glaring as she shouted, "You little brat! Who gave you permission to show your face here? Have you finished washing the clothes yet? Have you finished scrubbing the floor? You are truly a burden, wasting food and grain. When you grow up, you will only be fit to serve men." Hearing these venomous words, Liu Quilan's blood boiled. She could no longer restrain herself, nor did she care for civility any longer. She raised her hand and delivered a thunderous slap across Zhang Zhu's face. Instantly, the two women lunged at each other, grabbing hair and tearing at clothes. However, the group of neighbors behind them stepped in and pinned Zhang Zhu to the ground. Liu Quilan's eyes were bloodshot as she struck the woman blow after blow, not stopping even when her own hand began to swell and redden. At this moment, the little girl opened her eyes wide in panic. "Grandmother, please stop hitting her. Father will beat you for this." Suddenly, at that very moment, the police arrived on the scene. They separated the crowd and demanded loudly, "Who called the police? Where is the crime scene?" Liu Quilan immediately remembered her main objective, pulling her granddaughter into her arms before leading the officers directly toward the bedroom. "Officers, I implore you, please tear down this wall. A master told me that my daughter's remains are concealed within. Please, break it down while I take the child outside. I do not want her to be frightened." The lead officer looked at the freshly renovated wall, suddenly recalling the old woman's previous claims. "1 year ago, was it not you who reported your daughter as missing? At the time, the security footage only showed your daughter entering the house, after which she vanished without a trace." Madame Quilan nodded. "That is correct. You searched the premises back then but found no clues. Please, just break open this wall and see for yourselves. Then the truth will reveal itself." Upon hearing this, Chief Zhang's complexion shifted as he began to sense that something ominous was afoot. "Son, wake up. Do not sleep anymore. Wake up quickly. A disaster of heaven-shaking proportions has befallen our house. The police are bullying us beyond measure." Meng Hao frowned, his expression filled with annoyance. His scholarly face now carried a hint of irritation. "Who is there? All this noise is incredibly irritating. I worked overtime late into the night yesterday. Can I not even have a peaceful sleep?" Muttering under his breath, he scanned the room and, upon seeing the neighbors huddled in the living room, his brow furrowed. His expression darkened. "Who are you people? Who gave you permission to enter this place? This is my house. Get out immediately, or I will have the authorities come and arrest every one of you." Mr. Vunyang let out a scornful laugh and pointed his finger directly at his face. "If you live your life without virtue, young Ha, a vengeful spirit will eventually claim you. There is no need for you to call them. The authorities are already standing right inside." Meng Hao scrambled inside in a panic, but upon seeing the police officers hammering at his walls, his gaze grew dark and malicious. "Enough! What on earth are you people doing? This is my new home that I just spent a fortune renovating. You may tear it down, but you will compensate me for every cent when you are finished." "Compensate you? A curse upon you! This dowry house belongs to my daughter. The money for the renovations came from my own pockets. You worthless, penniless parasite, good for nothing but clinging to a woman's skirt and living off your wife's family. By what right do you forbid this? Keep hammering. Tear it all to the ground for me. Officers, you may proceed without worry. I will not hold you responsible for even a single copper." The sharp, deafening sound of hammers striking stone, mixed with the sound of crumbling bricks, echoed incessantly. Vuong Daiming tapped against the wall, immediately realizing that something about the sound within was not right. He shifted the focus of his hammer and continued to strike with force. Before long, large sections of the wall collapsed, and the silhouette of a young woman with her eyes tightly shut slowly appeared before everyone's eyes. "Damn it, there truly is a corpse here. The body has not even begun to decompose. Quickly, call for backup and seal off the scene." Madame Lu Thuilan hurriedly reached out to cover her granddaughter's eyes, staring at her own daughter, who was tightly encased in plastic. That familiar face was now deathly pale and turned a dark shade of blue. Tears streamed down her face as she glared at Meng Hao, with eyes burning with hatred, wishing she could tear him into 1,000 pieces. "Man Hao, you wolf-hearted beast. What did my daughter ever do to you? She married you without demanding a single cent in bridal wealth. How could you bear to end her life? You had a mistress on the side. You could have simply asked for a divorce. On what grounds? By what right do you dare to claim the life of my daughter? That beastly wretch." His heinous crimes had finally been laid bare. Meng Hao knew that everything had come to an end. He no longer bothered to hide his true nature. "It was your daughter who was foolish and obsessed, insisting on marrying me. What does that have to do with me? Furthermore, it is because she was utterly useless. Oh, and her womb could not even conceive. She could not even produce a single child, so it was not as if I intended to kill her. It was merely that my hand slipped, and I used a bit too much force. Who could have known she would stop breathing? Let me tell you, the way I treated her was already more than enough, considering the circumstances. Even though she is dead, I have kept her in this house all this time, haven't I?" "Ha ha ha!" The onlookers observed the demonic, crazed expression upon his face, and a chill surged from the soles of their feet. They could not help but tremble uncontrollably. Liu Quilan shook violently, screaming in bitter agony. "You absolute scoundrel! You are a sick, subhuman beast. It was clearly you who knelt and begged my daughter to marry you, not the other way around. A person of this nature is truly too cruel. Officers, quickly, place him under arrest. I will hire the finest lawyers. I must see him pay with his life to avenge my daughter. You just wait. There can be no peace between us until one of us lies dead. Seeing her so enraged that she was on the verge of collapsing, Uncle Wang hurriedly advised, Kuilan, I beg you, you must remain calm. If you faint or suffer a stroke now, who will seek justice for Xiao Yu? At that point, there will be no one left to pursue the truth. He will serve a few years in prison, then return to seize your family's assets. That would truly be a devastating loss of both life and property. We absolutely cannot let that vile villain benefit. That scoundrel is intentionally trying to goad you into losing your composure. Hearing this, Liu Kuilan drew a deep, shuddering breath. You are right. I must live on, for only then can I secure justice for my Xiao Yu. I still have to provide for Han Han. Those vile wretches would never treat my granddaughter with any kindness. I am taking Han Han back with me. And as for you, Meng Hao, along with that wretched woman you call a wife, the death of my daughter was caused entirely by the two of you. I will not spare a single one of you. I will sit back and watch as you serve your time. Will that mistress you keep outside, along with that wretched spawn of yours, really have the patience to wait for you? It is far more likely she has already fled to the arms of another man. Upon hearing this, the complexions of Meng Hao and his mother shifted violently. Their darkest fears had been realized, for the one thing they cherished above their own lives was that heir meant to carry on their family line. To have one's lineage severed is a fate far worse than mere imprisonment. At this thought, the mother and son collapsed to the ground, begging for mercy. Mother, I beg you, spare me just this once, if only for the sake of Han Han. The child has already lost her mother. She cannot afford to lose her father as well. Liu Kuilan delivered a kick squarely to his face, her eyes filled with utter disgust. Get out of my sight. My granddaughter was treated like a beast of burden while under your roof. Once she grew a little older, you surely intended to sell her off for a bride price. Leave her in your care? Do not even dream of it. The two of you can rot in prison and reflect upon your sins. The neighbors, watching the pair being dragged away in shackles, exchanged knowing glances. Good heavens, that Grandmaster's prediction was spot on. He is truly a living master. Uncle Wang lifted his chin, looking smugly satisfied. That young man who just moved in? Master Su who just moved into this district. I knew from the start that he possessed an extraordinary aura. Do you see how sharp my judgment of character is? Now that the matters here have been concluded, you should hurry and take the child home. It would be best if you hired bodyguards for yourself in the coming days. I fear your son-in-law will seek someone to exact revenge, and that woman of his as well. Very well. I understand what you mean, Director Wang. It is merely a matter of spending some money. I shall hire bodyguards to shadow them immediately. Only when that beast is sentenced to death will I be able to rest easy. Whenever the elderly folk returned home and met someone, they began to spread the rumors. They recounted the tale so vividly it seemed true. As the story spread from 10 people to 100, the entire eastern district of the city soon knew of it. At Swan Lake Park, there was a master of divination. With a mere blink, 3 fortunes were read, as Su Chen began to hawk his peace talismans. The elderly, at their age, do not begrudge such small change. As long as they can pray for peace, they consider it buying a bit of good fortune. That is far more reliable than consuming those health supplements. Having sold 20 talismans, plus 3,000 for the fortune-telling fees, he had already pocketed 500 yuan in just half the morning. Su Chen looked at the balance on his phone. It is truly a fact that one's old trade still yields the quickest profit. Of course, one cannot simply demand exorbitant prices in this profession. Divulging the secrets of heaven requires a modest fee. Otherwise, one risks being struck down by lightning. He packed up his belongings, turned off his loudspeaker, and returned to his rented room. Glancing at his friend sitting before the television, he called out, Howsy, I earned 500 yuan today. I'm treating you to hot pot. Wang Hao cried out in astonishment. What is that? You make money as easily as breathing? Truly, as expected of a top student. Damn it, you are superior in every single aspect. Very well. I do not have to work until tomorrow night. I am free today. Let us go grab some hot pot and have a couple of drinks. Having said that, he threw himself back onto the bed, preparing for a nap. Meanwhile, Su Chen took out some talisman paper and began drawing a few more sheets. This time, he prepared several commonly used talismans, such as the Spirit Manifestation Talisman and the Protection Talisman. His physical prowess was currently somewhat lacking. He feared not ghosts or spirits, but rather encountering those from the criminal underworld. With a Protection Talisman in hand, at the very least he would not be standing there helpless when caught in a confrontation. After storing the first level, he sat on the sofa and browsed his phone for a while. After lying down for a short rest, he awoke to find it was already 3 p.m. Unable to drift back into slumber, he rose and headed outside, intending to wander the vicinity for a while. Su Chen was never one to sit idle. Seeing that nightfall was still a long way off, he went straight to the market to purchase tools. Returning to drag Wang Hao into learning the craft of creating spirit effigies, paper horses, and paper dwellings, Wang Hao felt a chill run down his spine. Gazing at the eerie, netherworldly items taking shape before him, his hair stood on end. Brother, is it truly necessary to be so desperate and obsessive about this? I am, after all, a student of the Qingbei University. Finding employment after graduation should be effortless. There is no urgent need to choose a path just yet. Let me wait until I have been battered and bruised by the world first. It would not be too late to return and open a funeral home then. Look at the current employment statistics. With the 996 work culture, one fears that by the time they earn money, it will not even be enough to cover their medical bills. There is not a shred of freedom to be found. Instead of acting as a beast of burden for capitalists, it is better to carve out my own path early and be done with it. Su Chen replied calmly. Having spoken, he returned his focus to his work. Wang Hao fell silent. Very well. Though his friend's words were difficult to hear, they were the harsh truth. To toil away under the 996 system is truly to trade one's life for wealth, being drained of all vitality by that exploitative culture. His shoulders slumped, and his head bowed low. You speak the truth. I shall learn it. It is good to have a backup plan for the future, rather than being forced to toil like a beast of burden. Brother, these paper offerings we burn, do the spirits truly receive them, or are we merely burning them for the sake of it? Wang Hao nodded, and began to follow his lead. Before long, the two of them had finished crafting a paper horse. Just as he prepared to paint eyes upon the horse, Su Chen caught sight of him, and hurriedly intervened. Wait, do not paint the eyes. When crafting paper offerings for the deceased, one must never paint the eyes. It is far too easy to invite unclean spirits into them. Remember this well. Oh, so there are even restrictions like these. I should perhaps take note of them. At that exact moment, the ringing of a telephone broke the silence. Su Chen picked up the device and saw an unfamiliar sequence of numbers. He answered the call out of habit. Hello, this is Butler Zhao speaking. The young lady requires your immediate return. Tomorrow she will take you to a certain place. Pack your things and return to the villa at once. Do not provoke the young lady's wrath. Has Miss Chin already arrived at the villa? The voice on the other end was steeped in arrogance, and upon hearing the question let out a cold laugh. Young Master Su, I must remind you, the young lady's whereabouts are not something you have the standing to inquire about. It would be best for you to simply obey. After all, there are only a few months left. You must arrive at the villa before 9 p.m. tonight, or you shall bear the consequences yourself. With those words, the old man hung up abruptly. Su Chen listened to the dial tone, then turned to meet Wang Hao's curious gaze and offered a brief explanation. I must return to the Qin family villa. She has returned, so there is likely a matter that requires my presence. I shall return once I have resolved the issue. As for the talisman I drew for you, ensure that you keep it on your person at all times. Tomorrow morning, please go to Swan Lake Park on my behalf. Inform the elders there that I am occupied with other matters and will be unable to provide fortune-telling services for the time being. I will visit them again when time permits. Wang Hao nodded in agreement. Brother, rest assured and go. In a few short months, you will be entirely free. At this stage, there is no benefit in defying the Qin family. Su Chen smiled and offered a slight nod. He shouldered his backpack and stepped outside, waiting by the roadside for a long while. Yet he could not hail a single taxi. After an unknown amount of time had passed, a vehicle finally pulled to a sudden halt. The driver, his face as rigid as stone, asked, Do you require a ride? Su Chen looked up and glanced at the taxi, which was emitting a chilling, spectral aura. The hour was truly growing late. Very well. I shall take this ride for today. He opened the door and climbed into the vehicle, heading toward the Thon An Villa complex. The old driver grinned from ear to ear, his eyes locked firmly onto him, filled with an insatiable, overwhelming greed. We are leaving now. Su Chen gazed through the window at the scenery outside, his eyes harboring a deep sense of mystery. Take the shortcut and try to drive a bit faster. I am in a hurry. Can you try to be a little more cooperative? No sooner had the words left his lips than he flicked a talisman directly at the man. The driver let out a blood-curdling scream as black smoke billowed from his body, and his form began to flicker and fade. He frantically begged for mercy. Master, spare my life. I was momentarily possessed by malevolent thoughts. I will take you there at once. I beg of you, do not kill me. Su Chen replied with utter indifference. Very well. Do try to drive a little faster this time. I shall make haste immediately, sir. It will not take more than 10 minutes. The ghost taxi came to a halt. Su Chen stepped out of the vehicle and strode toward the villa. Butler Zhao stepped forward, raising a hand to cover his nose, revealing a look of pure disdain. Young Master Su, what manner of transport did you take to get back? Why do you look so disheveled? It would be best if you went upstairs to bathe immediately. You must rise early tomorrow morning, and you must not keep the young mistress waiting. The young mistress has never been one to tolerate waiting. Su Chen replied with a deadpan expression. I simply caught a ghost taxi. It is truly difficult to find a ride these days. It has only been a few days, but the wrinkles around your eyes have deepened, Butler Zhao. You really should pay more attention to your skincare. For a woman, after all, one's face is of the utmost importance. With those words he gave a slight nod. He walked into the villa with a composed expression, leaving Zhao Ru's face flickering between shades of green and white. She watched his retreating figure, a glimmer of malice flashing in her eyes. He is nothing more than a mere body double. Yet he dares to. She hurried after him, stepping into the kitchen while muttering to herself, a triumphant smirk etched upon her face. She was determined to humiliate Su Chen. The more the young mistress despised him, the sooner she would drive him out of the estate. Once he was gone, she could bring her own son to live in the villa, take photos to show off his status, and it would be a simple matter to lure a wealthy young bride into the family. As for Su Chen, after finishing his bath, he cut out 3 small paper effigies and commanded them to stand guard at the front door and windows before finally lying down to sleep. The night passed in the blink of an eye. The next morning, before the dawn had even broken, a rhythmic knocking echoed at the door. Upon opening the door, he saw who was standing outside. He raised an eyebrow, and the knocking sounded once more. Upon opening the door, he saw who was standing outside. He raised an eyebrow. "Steward Zhao, you have the spare time to personally bring me breakfast?" In the memories of the original host, this Steward Zhao had always looked down upon him, constantly making his life difficult, let alone offering the kindness of delivering breakfast. This situation was truly suspicious. Steward Zhao curled her lips into a sneer. "Young Master Su, the young mistress will return around 10 o'clock. You should eat early and go downstairs to wait for her. Otherwise, if she does not see you, she will surely fly into a rage." Su Chen reached out to take the breakfast, responding calmly, "Very well, I understand. I will go down immediately after I finish eating." He closed the door and lifted the bowl to his nose to take a whiff. His gaze instantly turned icy. From ancient times, the arts of medicine and Taoism have never been separated, and as a practitioner of the Tao, he naturally possessed some knowledge of medicine, making this scent all too familiar. It was effective for those suffering from bloating, but for someone healthy, it was nothing short of a catastrophe. While it would not kill anyone or cause a serious illness, it would force the victim to endure the unbearable humiliation of uncontrollable flatulence. This concoction was commonly known as wind-inducing potion. He had known the woman harbored no good intentions, yet he had not expected her to resort to such despicable tactics. He stepped into the bathroom and poured the porridge down the drain, hoping to find something else to settle his stomach, only to find not a single scrap of food available. A short while later, Su Chen descended to the first-floor living room. He sat upon the sofa, waiting. Steward Zhao waved her hand, ordering the servants to bring out plates of fruit, snacks, and tea. She stepped closer, wearing a smile, yet her tone was laced with thinly veiled threats. "Young Master Su, when the young mistress returns later, I suggest you watch your tongue. Do not go about spouting nonsense regarding the affairs of this villa. You must understand that I am a long-standing member of the Qin family. If you compare yourself to me, the young mistress will certainly trust my word over yours. Would you not agree? In any case, you will be leaving in a few months. It would be best to part on good terms. That would be for the best for everyone involved." Su Chen raised his head and stared fixedly at the woman. "Is that so? I am a bit slow-witted, so I am unsure which matter Steward Zhao Bao was forbidden from telling Miss Qin. Was it the fact that you have been stealing items from this villa? Or perhaps the fact that you snuck your son in to live here secretly and have been squandering the master's property? That seems to be quite a long list. I am not certain which specific matter you are referring to." The other servants heard this and turned in unison, their eyes filled with astonishment. Previously, Master Su was always timid and kept his head bowed, never daring to look anyone in the eye, let alone utter such words. Steward Zhao's expression darkened instantly. Just as she was about to retort, a voice called out, announcing that the young lady had returned. Her face shifted colors as rapidly as a chameleon, before she quickly regained her facade of professional, gentle composure. Before departing, she cast a warning glare, sharp as a razor, in his direction. Su Chen, however, remained utterly indifferent, as if he had seen nothing at all. The servants lined up in 2 rows, eyes fixed straight ahead, waiting respectfully. Before long, the rhythmic clacking of high heels against the floor echoed, drawing closer with every step. A figure stepped into the villa. The staff bowed in unison and shouted in one voice, "Welcome home, miss!" Qin Wushuang waved her hand. She was dressed in a black business suit, her expression cold as ice, radiating the aura of someone accustomed to command, exerting a pressure so formidable that others felt compelled to cower, not daring to meet her gaze. Instinctively, Su Chen looked toward her and froze, his eyes widening in a daze. He had never before witnessed such a powerful and sophisticated woman. A violet aura swirled around her, a supreme treasure for those who walk the path of cultivation. With such an auspicious aura guarding her, what demon or heretic would dare draw near? Moreover, she was born with the destiny of nobility, destined to enjoy boundless wealth and glory for a lifetime. As he stared at her so brazenly, Qin Wushuang felt insulted. She walked over and sat down opposite him, narrowing her eyes slightly, her voice cold enough to chill the bone. "Have you seen enough? If you have not, come closer and look your fill." Hearing this, Su Chen could not help but shiver, and he promptly apologized. "My apologies, I have overstepped." Qin Wushuang remained expressionless. "What must be done today? Has Steward Zhao not informed you? Accompany me to the charity auction. When we arrive, you need only offer a polite smile. Do not speak unless necessary." "Understood. It seems I am to serve as nothing more than a decorative vase once again." The original host's memories included such occasions. He was expected to make appearances at various events to preserve the reputation of the Qin family, only to be cast aside and forgotten once his purpose was served. Su Chen pondered something, a faint glint appearing in his eyes. Qin Wushuang took a few sips of tea. "Butler Zhao Liang, are you paying you $200,000 a month to serve me something of this quality? The flavor is off. Brew it again." "Yes, miss. I shall prepare another cup immediately." Zhao Ru was like a mouse confronting a cat. His attitude was utterly servile, and he swiftly scrambled to replace the tea. His heart pounded against his ribs, terrified that any sign of dissatisfaction from the young mistress would result in his immediate dismissal. It had been no small feat for him to secure a position within the Qin household. Though the mistress was difficult to serve, she was rarely present throughout the year. By enduring this briefly, he earned an annual salary of over 2 million. Not including the minor kickbacks he skimmed from the accounts. This was an employment opportunity he could not afford to lose. Qin Wushuang took a sip, still looking unimpressed, and cast a chilling glance in his direction. "It is getting late. Su Chen, come with me. Butler Zhao, instruct the driver to follow my vehicle. Once the event concludes, see to it that Su Chen is returned home first. Furthermore, Butler Zhao, your tea brewing skills have severely declined. It seems you are in need of recertifying your butler credentials." Zhao Ru bowed his head low, trembling as he replied, "Yes, miss. I will heed your instructions. I shall take them to heart, and I will retake all those certifications immediately." The two of them departed, one after the other. No sooner had they entered the car than she pulled out a laptop. Her 10 fingers danced across the keyboard in a blur. It was clear she was preoccupied with urgent matters. Su Chen pulled out his phone, but before he could do anything, a ringtone suddenly broke the silence. The atmospheric pressure inside the car plummeted, a chilling aura radiating outward that caused one's body to instinctively tense. Qin Wushuang's frigid voice echoed in his ear. "Turn it off. It is too noisy." "Understood, my apologies." Su Chen instinctively powered down the device, straightened his back, and stared fixedly ahead. Terror. Qin Wushuang finished her business, closed her laptop, and cast a glance at the person sitting quietly beside her, her tone softening slightly. "Su Chen, what have you been up to lately?" He confessed the truth from beginning to end. He never intended to hide anything from her, and it would be impossible to conceal such matters once discovered anyway. With a woman of such power, if she felt she was being toyed with, crushing him would be a trivial matter. "After the fall and the head injury last time, I went to visit Wang Hao. I usually tell fortunes at the park, and I only just returned from Tima yesterday." As the words left his lips, the car fell into a deathly silence. Uncle Fu, having overheard, broke into a cold sweat. He was finished. The young miss had always detested superstitious nonsense. Not only did Su Chen dare to bring it up, but he even dared to claim he was a charlatan. In this situation, the young miss would surely erupt into a fit of rage. Qin Wushuang raised an eyebrow, looking at him with clear interest. "Oh? A university student such as yourself? How is it that you know the art of divination?" "I simply had an interest, and picked up a few tricks here and there, enough to earn some pocket money for tuition," Su Chen replied calmly. The original owner had indeed been obsessed with the occult for a time, only to give up later when he realized he lacked the talent for it. Therefore, even if Qin Wushuang were to have him investigated, he was not telling a lie. Qin Wushuang met his clear, unclouded gaze, and the irritation in her heart subsided subconsciously. "I have been providing you with $100,000 in living expenses every month. Do you still find it necessary to go out and earn tuition fees yourself? 100,000, you say? I know nothing of this." Su Chen looked at her, bewildered. In the memories of the original owner, there had never been any concept of receiving $100,000 every month. If that were truly the case, why would the original owner have struggled so much, working odd jobs everywhere? It is impossible for that to be true. When you entered the Qin family residence, the 5 million specified in the contract, along with the 100,000 in monthly living expenses, I personally instructed Steward Zhao to deliver them to you. The two stared directly into each other's eyes. Qin Wushuang's gaze carried the scrutinizing sharpness of one who had navigated the business world for many years. Whether or not a person was lying, she could see through them with a single glance. Yet, in Su Chen's eyes at this moment, there was nothing but confusion and genuine bewilderment. Her voice turned icy. "Uncle Fuck, investigate where that money went within the next 10 minutes. If Steward Zhao is involved, hand him over to the police immediately." Uncle Fuchs nodded, acknowledging the order, and began tapping rapidly on his phone. Soon, a dossier was sent directly to her device. He promptly forwarded it to Qin Wushuang. Miss, the investigation is complete. Please, take a look. Qin Wushuang opened the file and scanned through the contents. After watching the surveillance footage, she let out a cold laugh. Indeed, a thief with sticky fingers. Miss, should we apprehend him immediately? This steward Zhao is pathologically greedy and completely lacks self-awareness. He is no longer fit to hold his position. No. Let us proceed slowly. Hire a new steward first. His debts will be settled all at once. He has nowhere to run. In this life, the thing I despise most is anyone who dares to deceive me or treat me like a fool. Hearing this, Su Chen's heart leaped into his throat. He silently thanked the heavens that he had read so many domineering CEO novels in his past life, for he was well versed in the methods of this social stratum. The only secret to survival is absolute honesty. It is best not to attempt any petty tricks with people like them. If they wish to investigate something, they can uncover the truth in mere minutes. They could even dig up your family lineage back 18 generations. Deception is entirely futile. Qin Wushuang turned her head and remarked casually, "You are very honest. I like that. Continue to maintain this virtue in the future. However, since you know how to practice divination, are you also capable of exercising spirits?" Su Chen nodded. "I am, but my cultivation and attainments are still quite shallow at this moment. If you wish to see them, I can assist you. Some spirits are not that terrifying, but others are truly grotesque. Let us drop the subject. Has this boy lost his mind? How dare he speak in such a manner? Does anything like a ghost actually exist in this world? Is there something wrong with his head? To think she would even invite someone to go ghost hunting. What exactly is so fascinating about such things?" Tan Wushuang found the idea quite amusing, a smirk playing on her lips. "Very well, if the opportunity arises, I would like to see it for myself. I wish to see what the ghosts and spirits of this world truly look like. Why is it that I have never encountered one even once?" Su Chen pursed his lips and remained silent. This woman is surrounded by an aura of death that protects her. What ghost would dare to approach her? Do they wish for their souls to be scattered and their spirits destroyed? He calmed his mind and steadied his breath, silently absorbing the death energy into his body to refine it into Dao power. In just this short amount of time, he had gained as much Dao power as he had accumulated from several days of fortune-telling. If she could take him along more often, his cultivation would undoubtedly recover much faster. But upon reflection, he dismissed the thought. Her presence was far too overwhelming, and he could barely breathe while standing next to her. It is better to cultivate steadily. This shortcut is not easy to tread. Before long, the car pulled to a stop in front of a grand hotel. The two walked in succession, and Tan Wushuang glanced back, her gaze landing on Su Chen's backpack. "Su Chen, why do you wear your backpack if there is nothing inside? Is there something in there?" Upon hearing this, Su Chen obediently opened it to show her. "It is nothing, just a thermos and a few talismans." "Ah, that's right. Please take this safety talisman. It will keep you protected." Looking at the triangular talisman emitting a faint golden glow as it was offered to her, she reached out to take it, smoothed it over a few times, and casually tucked it into her diamond-encrusted handbag. She gave a faint nod. People were gradually gathering nearby, occasionally casting furtive glances toward Su Chen and whispering to one another, "Is that really the man of Boss Tan? He looks quite young. He must still be a university student, right? I never expected the cold and haughty Boss Tan to have a penchant for younger men. He truly carries the aura of youth. Never mind that. His profile looks exactly like the young master of the Fu family. No wonder he was able to. It seems his only asset is that handsome face of his. Once the real one returns, we shall finally have a spectacle worth watching." "I would not be so sure of that. I heard this young man was the top scholar of the entire province. He possesses not only a striking appearance but a sharp mind as well. Otherwise, how could he have ever caught the eye of Director Qin?" Su Chen heard their voices growing louder and lowered his gaze, feeling a hint of annoyance. "If you must speak ill of others behind their backs, could you at least lower your voices? It is truly noisy." He retrieved his phone and unlocked it, seeing several missed calls and a WeChat message from Wang Hao. "Brother, the peace talismans have sold 3,000 units. If you are free, please draw some more. This item is selling remarkably well. We have truly struck gold." Su Chen switched his phone to silent mode, took out his thermos, and poured himself a cup. Sensing a gaze from the side, he turned his head to look. "Director Qin, would you care for a drink?" The expression in Qin Wushuang's eyes suddenly turned icy. "I have already told you, when we are out in public, you may simply call me Wushuang. This is the only time I will allow it." "Ah, very well. Wushuang, would you like a drink? It is ginseng and goji berry tea. One must attend to their health while still young." Su Chen sipped the tea slowly as he spoke, his expression one of utter contentment. The corner of Qin Wushuang's mouth twitched, and she turned her head away, refusing to look at him any longer. This fellow no longer acts with the fawning subservience of the past. He has become significantly more provocative. though his mind seems rather peculiar. Before long, the charity auction commenced. It is termed a charity auction because every item presented has a specific purpose. Once an item is successfully auctioned, the entirety of the proceeds is donated unconditionally to the charity fund under the bidder's personal name. As each item was sold one by one, Qin Wushuang remained entirely indifferent. The host glanced down from the stage, a cryptic glint flashing in the depths of his eyes. Next we have a piece of Guanware porcelain, featuring exquisite patterns. It is the final item of our collection today. The starting bid is 10 million, with a minimum increment of 500,000. As the bidding began, the porcelain piece, covered in black cloth, was carried onto the stage with the utmost care. The host yanked the black cloth away, and the stage light struck the vase, causing it to shimmer with a brilliant, magnificent radiance. Qin Wushuang immediately sat upright, her eyes fixed intently upon the stage. It was clear she held a profound interest in this porcelain piece. The shadow lurking in the darkness witnessed this scene, and signaled with a gesture, quickly retreating as others continued to raise their bidding paddles. Just as Yin Wushuang gripped her paddle to raise it, the person beside her pressed it down. "What are you doing?" Su Chen furrowed his brow, his expression grave and serious. "Do not bid. That vase is tainted. Someone has tampered with it. If you purchase it, and keep it in your home, it will slowly drain away your very life force. It will shorten your lifespan." "What nonsense are you spouting?" "Su Chen, I think your brain must have been damaged when you fell. It is merely a vase. Who would have the leisure to play such tricks?" As she spoke, she raised her paddle. Seeing this, the auctioneer's smile deepened. "President Qin offers 8 million. Are there any other guests who wish to raise the bid? If there is no one else?" Just then, another paddle was raised. Su Chen stared intensely at the black mist coiling tightly around the vase. It appeared exactly like living insects, constantly writhing in a repulsive manner upon its surface. That was a type of curse technique only those who practice the demonic arts would employ. It is designed to drain the vitality from those with unique life patterns, used to prolong the practitioner's own longevity. It is the very thing that all righteous cultivators despise the most. He reached out and gripped her wrist, speaking sternly. "Wait, I know you want that vase, but look at this first. If you still insist on buying it after seeing this, I will absolutely not stop you." As Su Chen spoke, he pressed a yellow talisman directly onto her person. This is a ghost-seeing talisman. Although it does not compare to opening one's heavenly eyes, it is more than sufficient to see such filth. "Do not be angry yet. Just look at the vase up there." Yin Wushuang's eyes revealed her clear annoyance. "You had better not be lying. I came here today solely for that vase. If you cause me to miss it..." She turned her head to look, and after only a single glance, her eyes widened in shock, and the scene before her suddenly shifted. The vase that had been shimmering moments ago was now shrouded in thick, baleful black mist. Even a single glance was enough to send a shiver down one's spine. Qin Wushuang rubbed her eyes, but the black mist remained. She looked down at the talisman pasted onto her body, tore it off, and looked again. Everything had returned to normal. When she replaced it, the ominous sight returned. Her brows knitted together, and she lowered her voice. "Su Chen, what exactly is happening here? Do you see that black mist? That is an evil manifestation. Your life destiny is highly unusual. You are the primary target for those who walk the crooked path. If they can absorb the death energy surrounding you, they can drastically accelerate their own cultivation speed." Su Chen leaned in slightly, whispering his explanation. "While the death energy can protect you from minor malevolent spirits, it also inevitably draws the attention of those who practice dark arts. They can utilize certain conduits to inflict harm upon you. Generally speaking, your noble destiny will not be easily detected by those on the crooked path, unless, of course, your birth data, your 8 characters, is revealed by someone." Qin Wushuang suddenly thought of her second uncle. His attitude lately had been rather strange. He rarely ever returned to the ancestral home. Yet, he had been visiting quite frequently of late. Her grandfather had even mentioned that her second uncle kept pressing him for her exact time of birth, claiming that he needed it to offer prayers at the temple, and that only the most precise time would suffice. Her fingers tightened instinctively, and she completely extinguished any intention of continuing the auction. Seeing this, Su Chen quietly released his hand. He acted as if nothing had occurred. Everything that needed to be warned had been said. The rest was entirely up to her to decide. Qin Wushuang gathered. To think that she is actually capable of expressing gratitude. It is truly unexpected. The auction concluded rapidly, and the two walked outside, waiting by the roadside. "Su Chen, do you truly possess the ability to perform divination?" Su Chen nodded. I know a thing or two. If you wish for a reading, you must wait a while longer. My current cultivation is not yet deep enough. Only when my spiritual attainment is higher will I be able to peer into the fortunes of those with exceptional destinies." "Oh, and does performing divination shorten one's lifespan?" Su Chen pondered for a moment before shaking his head. "If a practitioner follows the righteous path, accumulating virtue and performing good deeds, they can offset the karmic retribution incurred from peering into the secrets of the heavens. But if one insists on walking the path of destruction, then being struck down by heavenly lightning is merely to be expected. Qin Wushuang cast a subtle glance at him. He clearly possessed the face of a youth, yet his tone, reminiscent of an old sage, created a strange and endearing contrast, which she found quite charming. The corners of her lips curled upward involuntarily as she began to tease him. Is it that you must always speak with such severity? Do you not know how to tell a lie? In the past, you were always so timid and subservient, always deferring and agreeing, yet now, you have grown much bolder. Su Chen pressed his lips together, remaining silent. The person from before was the original host, not him. He always conducts himself with integrity, walking upright and sitting straight. He has never committed an act that would shame his conscience. He only blames his past life for falling victim to the treachery of others. As for that sect master position, whoever desires it may have it. Now that he has been granted a second chance at life, as long as he diligently acquires wealth and lives for his own happiness, that is enough. Nothing else is of any importance. Just then, a portly man brushed past the two of them. Qin Wushuang suddenly felt a chill run down her spine. Instinctively she looked over, only to see several infants clinging to the man's back, their umbilical cords still attached to their bodies. Black energy swirled around them. She hurriedly tore the talisman from her person, but before she could react, the paper in her hand ignited and turned into black ash. It slipped right through her fingers. Su Chen, why has the talisman you gave me turned to ash? Did you see what was on that man's back just now? Su Chen quickly raised a finger to his lips, signaling for her to say no more. We are already in the car. He whispered that this was not the place to discuss such matters, adding, keep this peace talisman. It will only benefit you. No harm will come of it. Uncle Fu drove up, stepped out, and opened the car door. Miss, you have arrived. Please, both of you, step inside. Once they were both settled, Uncle Fu drove away from the hotel entrance. Su Chen handed over a small paper effigy. Lowering his voice, he said, I have not drawn many of these eye-opening, yin-yang talismans. Once it has been used to its limit, it will turn to ash on its own. Keep it with you. If you encounter anything malicious, simply call my name toward this effigy, and I will find you. The man you mentioned earlier, was he carrying several infants on his back? His entire body was tinged with a bruised, purple hue, and he looked quite grotesque, did he not? Usually, those haunted by vengeful spirits. His entire body was tinged with a bruised, purple hue, and he looked quite grotesque, did he not? Typically, those haunted by vengeful spirits, especially the souls of infants, are invariably promiscuous, treacherous, and devoid of virtue. They indulge in their vices only to force others into termination, which is why they become ensnared by such resentment. That is merely his karmic retribution. You need not concern yourself with him. Qin Wushuang let out a soft sound of acknowledgement and reached out to take the paper effigy. She watched the tiny figure dancing in the palm of her hand. Her eyes, usually so composed, flickered with movement. It could move? Uncle Fu, watching through the rearview mirror, clearly saw the thing dancing energetically in his mistress's hand. He was so startled that he jerked the steering wheel, and the sudden inertia set the two passengers in the back seat lurching to one side. Su Chen reached out and pulled her into his arms. Once he regained his composure, he hurriedly let go, his expression visibly awkward. The car swerved just now. I did not do that intentionally. The substitute marriage contract states it very clearly. Throughout the duration of our marriage, we are husband and wife in name only. Unless granted permission by the lady, any form of physical contact is strictly forbidden. Having finished his statement, Su Chen hastily retreated into the corner of the seat, widening the distance between them, as if afraid he might accidentally touch her again. Qin Wushuang, seeing this, felt the strange sensation in her heart immediately overwhelmed by a wave of irritation. She let out a cold hum, clutched the paper effigy tightly, and refused to speak another word. The atmosphere inside the car suddenly became stifling. Uncle Fu glanced at the young man sitting there with an expression of naive innocence, then looked at his own mistress, who was brooding in sullen anger. He sighed to himself. This young scholar may be academically gifted,